Hi, everybody. We're having our next episode of BVS Film Productions Final Cuts. And today we have a special guest, Peter Cimoroni. He is a serial entrepreneur. He's a successful podcaster and owner of Palladium Edge. And he's going to tell you all about that. So, Peter, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Dan. And you know, Dan, I really love what you're doing. And I love the way you're doing it. So the quality of it is first class. And that's what I love being associated with. And that's what Palladium Edge is. It's a best practices company. So what we do is we go in and triage companies, kind of do a deep dive, find out what's right with them, what's not so right with them, where do they want to be and why and how fast. And that could be any of these different types of best practices. Everything from top line growth, which is marketing and advertising and selling, right, to line item efficiencies, where we can actually show people how to monetize their accounts payable, reduce all types of costs from insurance to electricity, et cetera, to EBITDA growth. So EBITDA is earnings before tax, interest, depreciation, et cetera. And that's really where valuation is for any company. We also help them if they're looking to raise capital. We have access to people that do that. We don't raise capital per se, but we have access to. And also for companies that if they want to acquire companies, you know, inorganic growth through acquisition. We show them how culture is very important. So you don't want to buy something that's a square peg in a round hole. And then lastly, that revenue event. When they want to be sold, we get them the best valuation. And that's where EBITDA is.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, so how did you get started in this business? I mean, who is Peter Cimoroni?
I hear you. Well, you know, back in the day, I graduated with a master's from John Carroll University in history. What are you going to do with that? So I went to law school. I didn't like it. So I came out and started selling airtime for Magic Radio, Larry Robinson.
Okay. Oh, really?
The brilliance of Larry Robinson, right? I mean, you kidding? The Diamond Man, right? And so we sold for Magic. And I really got a baptism of fire, a Harvard MBA of the street, if you will.
Right.
And before we knew it, we were opening up our first agency. And we did real well with that. We sold it and then went to work for the company that bought me. Came back, went to work for a large property and casualty insurance agency as their acting president. And during that time, invented a product called Cough Pops, cough drop on a stick.
That's right.
Yes.
You told me about that.
Yes. And it was one of only 3 consumer products in the entire decade of the 90s to come out of Cleveland, Ohio. One was the Spin toothbrush. The other was Gojo, Purell, and us. Not bad company. And we ended up being an international brand. We were in Canada, all 50 states, United States, Mexico, and the Middle East. We sold that in 2006 and did okay.
I wondered who made those things.
You're looking at them.
Commercials.
Yeah, you're looking at them.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
So, and how we got that was one Christmas, I think it was 97. I was over right after Christmas, and I was with my sister and my brother-in-law, and I was sitting at the Christmas, the table, and he was holding a lozenge in his daughter's mouth. And I said, "Why are you doing that?" And my sister pipes up. He goes, "That's my idea." I go, "What do you mean it's your idea?" She, "Well, I don't want her to choke." And he's a doctor, right? He was an OBGYN. And he goes, "Yeah, I don't want her to aspirate." I go, "There's got to be a better idea." And in unison, they both say, "What? Let's put it on a stick." And that was it. And I went to run with it because they're a doctor and a housewife, God bless her. She actually is great in her own right as a business person, but she was raising kids. Yeah. And so I was that businessman that went out, and I'll tell you what, if somebody would have told me, Dan, what I have to go through, blood, sweat, and tears, I would never have done it. But I have that in my back pocket. We did it, and we were on the cover of all the major newspapers, magazines. And prior to the internet, we were actually selling on the internet, the nation part of the internet, 98, 99, 2000. We had a website. We were selling on the website.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool. And then that led me to creating essentially Palladium 20 years later, through Razor, Grappler Group Razor, the etymology of Palladium. And what we did was we took those best practices, those lessons we learned, those mistakes we made, and we brought them to the business world. So we really can tell people what not to do, which is as important as what to do.
Yeah.
Saves a lot of heartache, a lot of capital, and a lot of time and aggravation.
Yeah, right. Wow. Well, as you know, this podcast is about video and how video played a role in marketing, and maybe you can kind of share about that a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, if you hit our site, you'll see one of the biggest award-winning campaigns we did was for Metro Lexus. back 20 years ago. So, and your video, obviously, with Criterion Tool.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And so we are strong believers in videos for branding, messaging, and internal communication. Right.
Yeah.
So those three are, the crown jewels of video use, if you will. And then, of course, now with everything in video snippets and contents from YouTube to TikTok to Instagram, we are doing that and huge believers in that. And we do that in our podcast.
Wow, that's awesome. Leads me to the next step. Yeah. So Blood Time Podcast.
Yes.
Going on 4 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us about that and the success that you're having with that's fantastic from what I hear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're just released our 93rd episode, our longest episode ever. It was a tribute to fallen hero, Jeff Tolan, one of my guys that I coached. He just recently passed away at a tender age of 59.
Oh, that's
so
young.
it's a brutal hole in all of our collective wrestling family, the Beechwood and wrestling family. And in that tribute, we talk deeply about why the sport is so doggone important to not only the athlete, but when the athlete is inspired by that coach or by that, drill partner or by that opponent and what they do with that transformation in the real world. And that's what Blood Time is.
Okay. So maybe we can tell people about, your wrestling background. So they can kind of know where that ties in.
Well, I started wrestling in 1971, dear God. Right? And I started coaching in 1978. So I wrestled for Beechwood. I wrestled for University of Dayton. I transferred to Carroll, blew out my knee, and I couldn't rehab it. So I went to coaching right away, and I coached at my alma mater, Beechwood, as the assistant coach.
Okay.
And then was the first GA at John Carroll. So I had both my alma maters under my belt before I was 25 years old, which was really cool, and coached state and national champs and all that. And then became the head coach and revived the program at Beechwood. It was down to one wrestler in 87, K through 12.
Wow.
K through 12. And within 7 years, we were fourth in the state.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I did that a second time in 2014 when they were down to 6 kids, K through 12. Built that back up to 100 kids, turned it over to Jimmy Greenwood, who is beautiful. He's the head coach now and has been there for, I think, 6 years. And then I heard that the Chagrin Falls program was ready to be disbanded. They were down to 5 kids, K through 12. I took that over in 18. I never thought I'd coach again. I thought I was done. Done, right? Yeah. And then Dan, we're back up to 120 kids, K through 12, and we had a historic year last year with Sam Partain, was our first Division II district champion in the history of the school.
Wow.
We had other Division III champs, and he was the first state place winner in the history of the school Division II. So it was pretty cool to do that, right? And we're in great shape right now, and I think this may be my swan song. So
that's it.
Yeah, I've got
awesome.
I've got everybody in good health,
and
I've pretty much.
Documentary.
I do. And the other thing we started was Wrestlers in Business Network. Back in 2009, one of my athletes, Aaron Grossman, who's the CEO of Alliance Staffing Solutions, came to me with this idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we get wrestlers together to create a business powerhouse, a political powerhouse, just a civic powerhouse. Yeah. And they're 55,000 members strong.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's done a phenomenal job with that. And I was one of the founding members. Wow. Yep.
That's cool. So going back to the podcast,
sure.
You seem to get some really big players on your podcast.
We do okay.
So
we had you on Undeniable, my man.
That's bigger than me.
I hear you. Yeah, but look what you're doing with Tom Hopkins and stuff. Yeah. So,
but I've seen just some of them you had. I mean, at IMG and all the different ones. How do you get those guys on your podcast?
Calls.
Just phone calls.
It's old school.
Relationships.
Obviously too, LinkedIn, my LinkedIn is extremely robust. We're almost at 20,000. We're almost at the limit. At 20,000. Oh. I mean, I just did Robert Marks, who was one of the top ISP providers in 2000, 2001, wow. Killed it, and just recently got inducted into my high school Hall of Fame, and I'm a member, so I was there, and I said, Robert, I want to talk to you. So I interviewed him, and just the picture of he and I. It's got like 1,600 impressions. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, two dopey guys standing there, smiling and put a peace sign up, and we got 60. Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that's happening. And the undeniable is the business side of that same mentality of that inspirational spark.
Which is the new podcast that you're
Yes,
working
it's
on.
now, actually, we're in our second season.
Wow.
And we're also on terrestrial radio on Salem Broadcasting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think people don't understand that, higher ups they're accessible.
Sure.
They are.
Yeah.
Most people look at it as like, oh man, I'm really afraid to talk to them or do anything. But in reality, they are accessible if you have a good proposition, a good message that you want to give to them.
It's interesting too, and I didn't realize the cachet that I have in the marketplace, but I'm called coach all the time. And Kevin Goodman is one of those guys, the guys who's the CEO of Blue Bridge Networks. And he's like, Coach, I'm honored to be on your podcast. I'm like, dude, I'm honored to have you on. You know what I mean? And you don't realize that you have that cachet, right?
That's
and
right.
So, and so humbly I say, okay, I'll use that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I have no fear. I've never had a fear of calling anybody. I mean, I
But
sat.
you came from the old school like I did. You
got a phone book, a card table. Let's go, right? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And what really was my crowning achievement, realized that I didn't have any fear, was when we had Cough Pops, and we wanted to have a revenue event earlier than 2006.
Yeah.
So I reached out because I heard that he was acquiring other companies in the space. Was Joe Viviano, who was at the time, this is I think the late 90s, was the CEO of Hershey's.
Oh.
And so on my call, he says, come on in, young man. He was probably my age at the time, and I was, probably late 30s. And I'm sitting in his office in Hershey, PA, and at the desk, Dan, above him is a 10-foot portrait of Milton Hershey.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So he asked me, he goes, so how many Cough Pops have you done, this year? I said, and proudly I said, we're up to, 8 million a month, which is good, but it's not great.
Yeah.
He goes, dude, I do 32 million kisses a day. And that was just one of his lines. He had Reese's, he had, Almond Joy, he had Bound. He had all these lines, but he was buying Ludens and Smith Brothers and all these others.
Right.
And so we had met with the Coldies people too, but I realized that I can get into any door at that moment.
Yeah, I thought Coley's had something like that too. They were starting to come into that, but I don't think it ever got off the ground.
There was a competitor. We ended up buying the competitor, and then
Really?
it was interesting. It was an interesting dynamic, and you meet some really creepy people too.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, really creep trying to steal your shit. It's not good, not good. So, but hey, you live and learn.
Right.
You grow that alligator skin, and you move on.
That's life.
Right.
That's what you do.
Right.
So you have this new thing.
Yes, we do.
So I know you brought some today, which is great.
I did, yes.
So we're all going to eat it.
I made it this morning, brother. Yeah.
Did you make it?
Yeah. I washed my hands real good,
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so you're good. You're in good shape.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about this new venture of yours, this guacamole dip. It's
Yes.
basically-
Yes.
what is-
GG's. GG's for gourmet guac, but it's just the two names. I mean, the two initials. And the holding company is called Avocado Goodness Corporation.
Avocado Goodness.
Goodness Corporation. Okay. Yes. And so what happened was about 5 years ago, I was starting to date seriously my now wife. And we do these Sunday fun days, right? And so one day we went to Paladar, which is a Cuban kind of Puerto Rican restaurant over on the east side of Cleveland in Eaton, which is an outdoor mall. And we started to eat the guacamole. And I wasn't really a big guacamole guy. I just sort of, give it a taste. And Dan, I said, this is good, but I can do better.
Wow. Okay.
So, being the wrestler I am, went home, started to mix it up, and I did. And so I started to eat it and then have it at parties.
Wow.
And so what would happen was, are you bringing your guac? Right?
Okay.
Are you bringing your guac?
So
hey,
the bell goes off.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
And when my brother goes, I don't even care if you come, just bring your guac. Just have your wife bring your guac. Yeah, I don't give a shit about you.
DoorDash.
Yeah, exactly right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I would have people surround the bowl, finishing the bowl or finishing it with a spoon.
Get your camera out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so, bing, I'm thick, but not that thick. So light bulb went on, and I said, I got something here.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So I started going to foodies like Brandon Krostowski and some other guys, and they all said, you got a game changer here. And so we put together the A-team, and we have a proof of concept order ready to fill in August for 606 stores, and we're going down to Mexico, and we're gonna start cranking it out, man. Yeah,
Wow.
cranking it out. We got 4 different guacs. We got a breakfast brunch spread. We've got a chip dip, and we have a condiment / marinade / salad dressing. Wow, yeah,
that's cool. So how can potential are you looking for potential investors, or is that something that's right now?
We definitely want to be oversubscribed.
Okay.
The more money, the merrier. And the reason is because we have to get distribution.
Right.
Okay, and we think we do. But it's going to be, it's a sleepy category right now with mediocre product out there.
Yeah.
And we think we got a game changer. But it's not, it doesn't, they can rip us off, right?
Oh,
you know what I mean? They can re-engineer the, so there's a lot of money people out there. But again, what I found about the thing with cough pops and some of the food is I'm a grinder.
Yeah.
I just won't be outworked, and so I think that the thing about this is that that's going to be our special sauce. Besides the recipe, is that we're just not going to stop.
Right.
So
that's how you get ahead, man.
Yep.
In the whole thing.
Yep.
So you told me an interesting thing about how much of this you're going to make.
Yeah.
What's the first batch? What was it, like
10,000 pounds, my brother?
Man.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that? You talk to like
a big mixer,
a big bowl,
a lot of avocados, my man.
Oh,
a lot of avocados. So what happens is what you do is a test batch, and then you can extrapolate that out. Okay, so it could be a test batch of maybe 100 pounds or something like that, and you'll extrapolate it out, and you won't make all 10,000 pounds at one time. Okay, you may make it over a course of a week or something like that.
So and then you have like the ingredients, and you're all set. You just multiply that by the amount of.
Yeah, we're going to the test. We're going down to their executive test kitchen, and we're gonna knock it out.
Nice.
We're gonna knock it out. Yeah.
So how can people find you and investors, potential investors? Where
just hit me up at palladiumedge.com or peter@palladiumedge.com, or my mobile phone is 216-287-1522. That's 216-287-1522.
Perfect. Well, great, Peter. One last question for you. Any advice to anyone that's just getting into business? What's the one big piece of advice you want to give them?
If you think you've seen it all, you haven't. Really? Prepare for the unexpected.
Okay.
And people say, well, how can you do that? Just know that there's going to be stuff that's going to hit you out of left field, and you're going, oh, okay, I got to figure this out. Figuring it out is the greatest thing an entrepreneur can have. Figuring it out. Yep.
And get back up.
Oh yeah. Well, Rocky said, right? Stallone said, it's not how hard you get hit; it's how fast you can get it back up and keep moving forward.
That's right.
Now, granted, it's a fictional character, but it's so true. You got to keep moving, and sometimes you got to move left or right, or duck under, or jump over.
Yeah.
But you got to keep moving forward,
no matter what.
Yep. No matter
That's
what.
Key. Good advice.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
Well, hey, it's great having you on here, and we look forward to hearing from you and your successes in the future.
Yep.
And we'll go from there.
And I would love to get your take on the taste and what you think.
I will. We will do that for sure.
Right. I love it. Well, Dan, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. Great.
Man.
Well, that was another episode of Final Cuts, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
How impressive, dude.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And this is kind of healthy for you, right?
Extremely healthy.
How about the
green tops of scallions, cilantro, lime juice.
That is one of the A4. They're a little bit like something onion in there.
Visit bvsfilmproductions.com or email info@bvsfilmproductions.com to find out more.
Let's face it, everybody loves to make podcasts and vodcasts, but nobody wants to edit them. Well, except for us. At Premier Podcast Productions, we professionally edit and distribute podcasts and vodcasts for companies around the world. Our process is simple and affordable, allowing you to stay focused on what you do best, developing great content and building your subscriber base. From recording and editing to final distribution and marketing, we can help every step of the way to make your podcast stand out and get the results it deserves. Contact us today at premierpodcastpros.com to take your podcast to the next level.